The distribution sector has seen a lot of change over the years through numerous acquisitions, changing buying practices from customers, and challenges managing supply chain disruptions and rampant inflation. Some Canadian businesses have succumbed to the competitive challenges, while others were absorbed by larger industry players. One could say the sector has seen these changes occur over the past 10 to 20 years, but a rapid evolution has been happening within the last 5. Today, we will take a look back to where the industry has come from and how it has evolved to remain relevant. And who better to take us on this journey but members of the ISSA Canada Distributor Council, who have faced the obstacles and maneuvered their businesses to remain competitive. Our moderator today is ISSA Canada Distributor Council Chair Tom Fournier. After a successful career as a senior sales leader with Kimberly-Clark Professional, Tom founded his own consulting practice, the Shades Mills Group, in 2018. He is a highly recognized thought leader on sales strategies and sales models. He draws upon his research and consulting work on B2B sales to help both distributors and manufacturers, with a particular emphasis on the cleaning and hygiene sector. Most recently, Tom has been serving as the Chief Executive Officer for Markets Connection, a new business startup that is a multi-vendor marketplace supporting distributors and manufacturers in the B2B space. Tom holds a BA in economics from the University of Western Ontario. He has been trained in a variety of sales methodologies, business coaching, managing for performance, team management, managing diversity and inclusion, value and pricing management, and targeted selection, interviewing, hiring. Also joining us today are representatives from the ISSA Canada Distributor Council, including Tim Ambler, Chris Arbour, and Manon Larose. Tim Ambler is the CEO of Swish Maintenance Ltd. Founded in 1956 by Walter Ambler, Tim is the third-generation family member to be appointed company CEO, which he accepted in 2020. Prior to becoming CEO, Tim served as general manager for British Columbia. Before joining Swish in 2017, Tim spent 11 years at Chevron Canada, with roles in pricing, strategy and planning, operations, brand and loyalty, and category management. Tim completed his MBA at London Business School in the United Kingdom and his BHK at the University of British Columbia. Chris Arbour is originally from Scarborough, Ontario, but moved to Atlantic Canada in 1988. He has been in a sales discipline for most of his professional life, starting off in the office products industry. He worked for a small independent distributor in northern New Brunswick and then started his own office products business, which he sold to Corporate Express in 2000. He then moved to St. John's, New Brunswick, and started to work for Corporate Express, supporting the general line sales reps in office furniture. In 2010, Chris joined Chandler in their office environments division as an account manager and moved into management in 2014. He became the division manager of the sanitation division in November 2015, where he remains today. Chris truly enjoys all the facets of the sanitation industry and looks forward to continuing it for many years to come. And last, but certainly not least, Manon Larose. Manon is the president and CEO of Larose Fils Ltd, a distributor and manufacturer of cleaning chemicals. Following her MBA, Manon joined the family business, which was founded by her father and grandfather in 1954. Manon has been consistently involved with ISSA and its predecessor, CSSA. She was the Quebec chapter chair for over a decade and also contributed on the ISSA board of directors as the Canadian director. Manon is a strong believer in growth through collaboration with peers and enjoys every opportunity to share ideas and shape her vision through exchanges with other entrepreneurs, customers, partners, and industry leaders. Welcome, everyone. So, for those who may not be aware, the ISSA Canada Distributor Council was formed in the spring of 2023 to help strengthen the line of communication between the association and this crucial industry sector. Working in conjunction with ISSA Canada's Executive Director, Mike Nosko, Tom Fournier was appointed chair of this new council. To date, the council is comprised of 8 representatives from both large and small distribution firms from across Canada. So before I turn the conversation over to Tom, I'd like to ask him to share his thoughts regarding the formation of the Distributor Council. So Tom, why was this council formed? Like, how did it come into being?
I think it come into being, like a lot of things associated with ISSA Canada, through a conversation with Mike Nosko. Mike and I were talking and then looking at the success of the BSC Council and how that had really become an effective voice for a key segment of our industry. They were doing work on behalf of BSCs, but also building awareness of them and their needs in the marketplace and what they had to contribute. And as we looked at the supply chain in the cleaning and hygiene industry, it struck us that a very vital link was the distribution sector. And it would be really neat to try to do similar with distribution, to elevate their visibility, their importance, reinforce their importance to our industry, and then seek to serve them and make ISSA Canada a stronger home for them and their efforts within our industry. So,
thanks, Tom. So, with that said, how about you take it away?
All right, thank you, Tanya. So,
thank you.
We have a series of questions. We're going to rotate through our various panel members, and thank you so much for Chris, Tim, and Manon volunteering their time. It seemed like half our council is on vacation this week and in all kinds of far-flung, fun, and warm places, but they're here supporting us, and we really appreciate it. So I'm going to start with Manon, as we explore some pain points and challenges that the industry faces today. So Manon, how are today's challenges different from 10 to 20 years ago?
Well, thank you, Tom, and thank you for the introduction, and I'm very happy to be here. That's a great question, and some, I think, would say that some of the challenges that we face today are unique or more complex, and we have so many articles and so many webinars that are entitled Change or Die, and that was actually said 15 years ago. So from my perspective, and I don't want to oversimplify things, but to me, fundamentally, the challenges in business we face today are not new. Truthfully, what we're trying to do, we're trying to increase sales, improve profit margin, reduce expenses, and we do everything that we can as a distributor to have the right people on the bus. So those have always been, and they will always remain, the challenges in business. What are new are the solutions available. So, thankfully, the businesses that are around today and those that have been successful over decades have already demonstrated that they could evolve and they could adapt in their offering and the way they conduct business and their management style or leadership style, or in the way they embrace new technologies early on. So over the years, some have evolved and some died. So the major difference, of course, is globalization and the many, many diverse channels of communication. So in my view, the largest challenge that we have today is the pressure to evolve faster than ever. So the speed at which we need to embrace new technologies and implement innovation is the new challenge. We can all agree, I think, that Janssen distributors typically were not the early adopters of technology, and neither were our customers. So that was fine for a while. But we also know today that the giant global distributors will spend fortunes on good business intelligence, AI-assisted customer service, AI-assisted marketing. And so, you know, I find that distributors that will not embrace fast enough those new technologies will fall behind fast. So again, not to simplify things, some will evolve and some won't. And the great distributors in Canada have demonstrated that they could. So I'm very hopeful that we'll find our lane and be prosperous.
Great. Thank you, Manon. Like, as you're talking, I was thinking back to, I don't know if it was 20 plus years ago, there was the Arthur Andersen study, Facing the Forces of Change, that looked at the distribution industry. And I think if there's one constant, it is the constant need to change and be aware of industry challenges and being ready to face those. So, Chris, we're turning to you now. Representing a boots on the ground company, what are you seeing in the industry today compared to years ago?
You know, the industry, you know, even in the office products business, and it translates well into the sanitation business, you know, sales is a relationship business, and it continues to be an important part of being a transactional business. But we're seeing that customers that we've had long-standing relationships with are not hesitant to go out and shop for alternatives. And one of the things that we're learning is never be complacent, never take your customer for granted, and the importance of bringing value to your customer, other than, you know, not being a price, but being that consultative resource for your customer has never been more important than it is today. And also, you know, we're realizing that, you know, of late, some of our team members have had relationships within a specific customer and have realized that that relationship is not where the decision lies, and had, you know, people in a more senior level make decisions that impact, you know, those long-standing relationships because we weren't at the right level, C-suite type relationship building. So knowing who all the key players are within a piece of business is vitally important. So that's one thing. You know, one of the things, you know, pre-COVID was there was a huge movement towards green products and, you know, making sure that, you know, those products were a part of an offering that everybody had to have. And, you know, COVID, I believe there was, you know, a stepping back of that because everybody wanted to make sure things were cleaned and disinfected, and they didn't necessarily care as much about the environment, but there is a resurgence that's going to happen. So the importance of having a green offering is also going to be key on into the future. And the other thing that is really, really impacting business today is the cost to get stuff to market. You know, before, you know, customers were hesitant to talk about, you know, shipping charges and those types of things. The acceptance in the marketplace now is becoming more commonplace because they realize the cost to get stuff to market is having a huge impact on the distributor, and the willingness to at least engage in some discussion regarding that. So those are, you know, those are three things that I would say as a boots on the ground organization that we face a lot day to day.
Oh, great. Thank you. I really appreciate those insights. So, Tim, turning to you, we've been talking about challenges and pain points. How's the industry evolved for the better today?
Yeah, thanks, Tom. I think just building on Manon and Chris's point there, I think we've continued to focus on adding value for customers, right? That's really been at the heart of the industry for for a very long time. And I think there's been a bit of a pendulum shift, really, where we've actually seen some customers who have perhaps migrated away from distribution to more kind of low touch solutions, and now realize that they actually need the assistance and professional expertise of our industry. So I think we're getting better at figuring out how to contrast that our total service package that we offer versus a low value box mover. And I was just sort of keying in on there where Chris was just mentioning that there are discussions happening that weren't really open to us in the past, around, I think Chris was talking about shipping there, right? But I think, we're starting to see, some decoupling of value, which is, I think, a bit of a shift, right? Where, we love to give things away for free in this industry. That doesn't always work from a financial standpoint. And so I think the industry is evolving in a way where, we can have an honest conversation that, okay, I'm going to give you the lowest cost per box, but you also need these additional value added services, and there's actually is a price to be paid for that value. And that's, I don't think that was always accessible to us. Second thing is I think we're getting better at embracing technology, right? And to Manon's point, it's not necessarily I don't think we've been the leader in technology, and it's a bit of a lumpy trend, I think, if you look across the industry. But certainly there's distributors who are using marketing and sales technology to really make their teams more productive, more effective, and the great news, of course, is that a lot of this technology is becoming a lot more accessible, and the pricing on it is getting better. I think sort of ongoing evolution. Chris's point is great there. This concept of where are our relationships, right, is changing, right? And I often think of that I call it multi-threading. So how do we build multi-threaded relationships with customers, so that where previously we were talking to someone who was either doing the work or was maybe an area manager, but now we need to have multiple touch points on that customer in order to be able to successfully service them. So I think that's again a shift, as there's we're seeing more centralization of purchasing. But I got to say, I think we still have a big lift for the industry. I think we're still as much as we've evolved, the industry I think is still seen as a bit of a laggard, right? And I think that's a big part of this is my opinion, right? But I think this is a big part of the reason that we've seen this this consolidation trend, right? There's some sophisticated players out there who feel that they can just sort of walk in, right? And with a little bit of I'm going to put in air quotes here, modern management and financial engineering, right? They can kind of walk in and flip distribution companies for a healthy profit. And I think it's really up to us, right, as a collective industry to raise our level of sophistication. And I think that'll be a benefit to us all to make that happen.
Well, here's hoping the Distributor Council, with some direction from our stakeholders, can play a role in that. So, all right, we're going to turn a little bit to obstacles distribution companies face. So, Manon, are the obstacles different from the eyes of a small distributor compared to a larger one?
Well, I can answer that question many different ways. I think what is a little bit more difficult for a smaller distributor, or what is small and what is medium, is is a difficult thing to quantify today. But I think independent distributors have to be more creative than ever to differentiate themselves from competition. And one of the reasons I feel is product lines. Years ago, product offering was a differentiator, and distributors carried lines with somewhat limited distribution, and that in itself could be a differentiator in the eye of the customer. But as we know, many lines today that used to be selectively distributed are available everywhere. So part of it as a consequence of acquisitions, of course. And years ago, either through their unique strengths or capabilities, independent distributors were able to come up with agreements with manufacturers one-on-one, and some were even better than others at negotiating. And so they had maybe they were a bit more competitive in their purchasing. And that has changed, of course. We know that giant manufacturers favor doing business with giant distributors. And, we've seen it in various product lines, but there's been some significant changes from the manufacturers in the way they go to market and in the way they support regional distributors and even larger independent distributors. So from that point of view, it seems like there might be a little bit less room to maneuver for distributors and to position themselves differently, strictly on a product offering or a competitive or purchasing power point of view. The second challenge that we face, as Tim alluded to, is the pressure on profit margin, in particular for those of us that are first-in-class value-added services kind of distributors. And combined with that, our customers are also becoming larger. I remember the days where all of our reps in their territories had multiple hospitals and multiple nursing homes and multiple customers they could call on. And now we deal with groups of hospitals and groups of nursing homes. And of course, all those factors have also contributed to margin erosion. So it's an interesting challenge, particularly, like I said, for those that positions themselves as value-added companies. We had and we still have the agility and the flexibility to cater to specific needs, but the margins don't necessarily allow it anymore. And as Tim mentioned, the end user still in some way expects that kind of involvement from us in inventory management and catering to their specific challenges per location. And it's a good thing that they're becoming more receptive to having discussions about that. And more distributors are adding those services as revenue streams. And I'm hopeful that, as it was done in other industries, the Janssen industry, as you said, Tim, will stop giving things away, and that we can start charging. We can start charging for some of the expertise that we provide in cleaning and hygiene. So those are some challenges, but I think we're becoming wiser. I think our end users are also, as you mentioned, Chris, more receptive to the fact that they see from other industries that things don't come for free necessarily. And you have to have the customer that just wants the easy transaction, no value-added services, and you have to have a price model for them. And you need to have maybe other propositions for others. But in the past, distributors were, margins were allowing for providing those services that cannot be free any longer.
All right, thank you. It's certainly does sound challenging, but it sounds like you're up to facing it and evolving your business practices. Chris, wondering about the big box shops, the online platforms, the e-commerce guys. How have they affected the way you do business, and how does your company compete with these?
So before I answer that question, to Manon's point about pricing and things like that, and having conversations with the customer, we belong to the Irving organization, and they have a chain of restaurants, and we supply products for cleaning those restaurants. And I remember having a conversation with my point of contact there, and I had mentioned that we had to make some price changes to their program, and her response to me was, well, it can't be any worse than the price of bacon. And so that was the response that I got. And I'm like, she was very receptive to having a price discussion. So
Glad to hear it.
but across, they are receptive because of what's going on in other segments, like food, for example. And we all know the price of groceries is not going down. So anyway, to back to your question. So, the big box shops, one of the things that they've caused us to be is better. And specifically around getting stuff to market. And, we've had to ensure that our stock levels give us the ability to provide next day service to our customers. And, I'm sitting today in our Grand Falls Windsor branch in central Newfoundland. And, we have bricks and mortar across Atlantic Canada so that we can provide that service. So, that's important to our customers, and some places that we deliver to next day is important to the customer because traditionally, and not to be unkind to our customers, but they're not great planners for the most part. And so you have to be able to provide that next day service because your competition, who is now Staples and Amazon and those kinds, they will deliver it in short order, and you have to be as good. So that's a change that we've had to adapt to. And the other thing is it's easy for a customer today to price shop. A quick Google search, you can find out what you're going to pay for a floor scrubber or a jug of chemical, and it's easy to find, and it's easy to basically shop your pricing. So that's one of the things that the big box slash online platforms have done. And what are we doing? So one of the things as an organization we're doing is we've got to get better from an online platform. So we are working on a new website that provides our customers with a good e-commerce solution. And that takes time, more than maybe financial resources. It takes time to build. So we're doing that because we know we need to. The one thing, and Manon said this, and I appreciate it so much. Even though we are a regional distributor, we have the ability to be agile. And our competition, the big box stores, do not have that ability. We can make decisions. We empower our people to make good decisions that impact their customers, and we can do that. We're not rigid and as structured as some of those bigger companies are, and I think our customers benefit from that in the long run. And the other thing that we've done, and we've talked about, bringing value and relationships with our customers, we've taken the time to invest in our people, specifically around sales training, and allowing them to be trained in a way that they know what it means to ask great questions and be that value added resource for your customer. And one of the things that we do is we put the customer first. And we ask them about what's important to them and what's important to their business. And it's not about us. It's about, what value can we bring to them? And then you're not just a price. So that's how, again, we've talked a lot about value add and relationships. And I think that is going to be the key to the distributor's success, is that we continue to do that. and investing in our people is a part of that.
All right, great. Thank you, Chris. I appreciate that. Tim, looking at Canadian distributors, how do they stay relevant? And I'm thinking in terms of tools you embrace to make your company better, more competitive.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure I'd recommend any specific tool. And, I think, if I look at us, I think we have too many tools. To some extent, the barrier to entry on acquiring these tools is, it's low, which is great. Gets you can experiment things, but I think the most important thing is how you're going to play it through, right? And so I think the best thing that a distributor can do is really be thinking in terms of like what are your actual needs, your processes that you feel that can be enabled through those tools, and then how am I really going to get to the value realization stage of that tool, right? How do I really play that all the way through? And then I think I love what Chris just said. We used to talk about sales training, and it's not about us, right? Like what an amazing concept, right? It's about the customer, and if I'm thinking about the tools, that we're really looking to leverage, it's like how do we stay close to the needs of our customer, right? And I think that's going to be different for every distributor, right? And depending on your size, right? Like you may be like extremely close to the customer, or you may have like a few layers, between you and the customer. But I think the key is that we've got to figure out ways to get the information about them, not us, and then incorporate that into our offering, right? And so that could be really simple stuff like we're all familiar with with surveys that we get, either which are asking to do things like NPS, or they're asking us questions around our satisfaction. You could be doing more formalized data collection, with reps or customer care teams. You could be making outbound calls yourself. Right. There's lots of ways to kind of bring this together, but I think I'm not sure that the tool is so important. But finding a way to really listen, is absolutely critical. We've talked about e-commerce. I think that is, it's largely become a box that just needs to be checked. I think that if you're not on that path today, you need to be on that. Path, tomorrow, right? And the technology's gotten there. It's gotten a lot cheaper to get it done, but I think that's pretty much every customer is asking for this. But if we sort of tie that out to the buyer's change, right? I mean, I think we're experiencing that there's been in our own companies, a tremendous amount of kind of what I call crew shift, right? Where we have highly experienced people who are aging out, retiring out of the industry. And we're bringing in, younger folks who have just kind of a different perspective on the world. That's happening with our customers, right? And I have a bit of a sob story, right, that I'd cry into my beer on, right? But basically, we had a situation where we had good rep coverage on an account, and then there was the buyer essentially retired out. And the new customer, if you will, it's the same customer, but the new buyer really didn't know the sophistication of our offering, right? What the customer knew was that they could order through our rep, and our rep would take care of them, and that was all all good and nice. They didn't know they didn't really know the depth of us, and they just went and shopped for someone who had something the way they wanted to shop, right? So it's really about them, and then we have to communicate out to them. And then, lastly, I think, what are the tools that can sort of really reinforce, your business process and just make you more effective? I think, if we're talking about sales process, I'm a huge proponent of sales productivity but simple, again, sort of ground game, right? Like we all know intuitively that, we need to do things like, we have to have persistent follow-up on opportunities. I like to talk about like no quote left behind, right? It's so easy to sort of fire and forget out that quote. What are the tools that you need to make that happen, right? That could be through CRM, it could be through customer service ticketing, right? There's all sorts of stuff out there. But I think, largely it comes down to like, what do we need for the customer, and then what are the internal processes, and then how do you match up that the tools and technology to get the value.
All right, thank you. Manon, what do you foresee in terms of further industry changes in the next 5 to 10 years? I guess you have your magic 8 ball and you can look into the future, right? So.
Thank you for that. Well, I won't repeat everything that Tim has said about technology, but certainly that was top item, of course. Not only large customers, but regular customers will require more technology for just simple transactions. So that is certainly something we need to address as distributors. But in the past, leading distributors in Canada probably evolved from a technological standpoint faster than our customers. But our customers are becoming more and more sophisticated, and the buyer is different. So we don't have that lead time anymore. So, but at the same time, we need to resist, and I agree with Tim, we need to resist the temptation of becoming very distracted with all kinds of tools that we can implement in our businesses, because at the end of the day, it is about not forgetting an opportunity out there, and so the tools, but to a degree. The main change that I see happening over the years is the disappearance to a degree of our industry knowledge and know-how. The Janssen space for many years was a specialty. But now any company that has distribution capability has entered the market. And that's not new. It's happened in the past, but they weren't very good at it. So we were the experts, and that was our edge, I guess, in the cleaning and hygiene. But now, partly through acquisitions, the giant distributors have decided to seriously enter this space, and they have more competent people on their staff, and so that is changing a little bit. But unfortunately for all of us, small, medium, or large, our industry expertise and knowledge is leaving the industry. And we predicted that 15 years ago. We talked about what will happen when all the veterans in the industry retire. So this time it's now, it's happened. And it has happened with distributors and manufacturers, but as well with our customers. And some of those long-term relationships are no longer there. But not only that, at least in our experience, we observed that some of our customers need us more than ever, because the new person in place is not the facility manager for the last 2 decades, and many times are not as familiar as their predecessor as at evaluating offerings, organizing staff and routes and work schedules, and even writing their own requests for proposals. So that is certainly something that we'll need to work through, is the how do we maintain the knowledge of our industry, as and I can just tell by the names that I see on my screen, and a lot of those names I've known for decades. So there are a lot of industry veterans at the customer level, distribution and manufacturing, and they are replaced with people certainly that we can train, but they have a completely different set of value when it comes to loyalty, for instance. And they don't necessarily know, and they have the history of everything you've done for their facility over the years. So that will be a challenge. And you know, we talked about this morning, but we talked about that 15 years ago. How many people in your company know how many people at your customer's location? You know, that is not new, but it's not a new tool it's just a concept that's been there. Mike Ambler and I see him on the screen, must have had that conversation 15 years ago. So we have great tools available to us today. We need to not be distracted with it and really focus on the simplicity of our business. And I think there is still an opportunity for us as distributor. We are more agile, we are more flexible, but we need to be mindful of a new landscape, of course, in distribution. But so that is, for myself, a challenge that I see we'll be facing is who will do the nighttime demos and who will train the people. And also one of the challenges that we have in the industry, and it's been a challenge, is how do we attract new talent to this cleaning and hygiene industry? We're not the most glamorous industry out there. And I think that's a place where ISSA can be very useful. ISSA has been great at in the last decade at bringing forward the value of clean and with all kinds of tools on ROI on the value of clean. But at the same time, there are some great career opportunities within our sector, and we're not doing much as an industry to attract new talent and to make it exciting. It's a complex business, but from the outside, you know, moving boxes of garbage can liner is not something very exciting. So we need, as a group, to do better to attract new talent.
Well, I made a career selling toilet paper, so talk about glamour. At one time we had t-shirts made up for one of my teams that said, sell toilet paper, live like rock stars. So, but anyways, maybe that's something our council can take up, that challenge. Chris, how can your manufacturers and suppliers help your company to do better in its day-to-day work?
You know, it's interesting. When I became the division manager of our sanitation business, I remember meeting with a vendor, and the vendor came to me and said, how are we going to grow the business? And the question kind of stymied me a little bit. And I thought to myself, you're asking me how I'm going to grow my business for you. And now the conversation, you know, I've become a little more astute as I've gained a few gray hairs. And I say to them, how are you going to help me grow my business? And one of the things that we expect a lot of our vendors. You know, we very faithfully send them purchase orders on a very regular basis. And the expectation is that you support our team out in the field. And, you know, you look on a map and you see Atlantic Canada, and it doesn't look that big, but I can tell you, there's a lot of real estate to cover. And we have teams, we have salespeople across Atlantic Canada, but the expectation of the vendors is that your salespeople or your agents need to be with our sales team, first of all, educating and training them on your products, but also customer facing time. Be in front, be present with our sales team hand in hand. They are the subject matter experts of their product lines, and they can bring that extra value when you're having that face time with your customer. Again, it's about adding value. You know, one of the things that I say to almost every one of our vendors is, you come to us, and their expectation is when they get time in the field with our sales team is that they are prepared. They have calls planned, you know, they have like a structured day. And I say to them, if you expect that of us, here's what I expect of you. We bring you some opportunities. You've got to bring us some opportunities. So what are those target customers that you've got your bullseye on, because they all do, and you bring us to the dance with those customers. So we'll bring you something, you bring us something. So that's how I believe that they can help us to grow our business. And we both win from that. They win, we win. And the other thing is training for, every twice a year we get the sales team together to talk about our internal stuff, but then we bring vendors in and they do presentations on what's new, and so they train up our staff when they're not available to be with them, to go out and be more educated and be, again, that value added provider. So it's training and working with in the field, and the expectation is we'll help you when you help us. And so it's as simple as that for us.
All right, great, thank you. Tim, the ISSA Canada Distributor Council has a survey out. By the way, Tanya has put a link to the survey in the chat. People can find it there. How's the council going to use insights from the survey to better help Canadian distributors and the cleaning and hygiene sector?
Yeah. So I think it goes back to my earlier point about understanding our customers as distributors, but I think in this case we're talking about ISSA Canada, and everybody on this call, in the distribution sector is really a customer, so it's not about us, the council. It's about you, the distributor. What are the needs and challenges that you have, we're all going to continue to compete, but what can we do to kind of grow the whole pie, right? I think this is really an element of how do we get stronger as an industry, right? So that we're growing the whole pie, right, for everyone. I think it starts with listening, and really the intent of the survey, as we got everyone together, I think all of us on the council have some, we're all good opinionated people, but at the same time, it's not about us. We really want to understand what the representatives of the industry are interested in, and I'm hoping that we're going to be able to take that feedback and work with the ISSA Canada team to build some programs that are relevant and help us all succeed.
Great, thank you. So I have one last question. I'm going to give each of you a chance to answer it. So I'll start with Manon and then turn to Chris and then Tim to wrap up. Manon, why did you agree to join the Distributor Council, and what are your hopes for the work that we are looking to do?
Many reasons. The first reason is giving back. The industry was very good to us. It was very good to my family. We're still 70 years later very passionate about what we do. And as Tanya mentioned in the introduction, I find that it is important to participate and be involved in the discussions with other entrepreneurs and industry leaders. And I think these opportunities help all of us shape our vision of the industry, and they're good. We can take that back in our individual business as well. And I still believe that despite the social media and all the how-to you can find on YouTube and the online platforms, that distributors like ourselves bring value to the market, are essential to the market. We are essential in accompanying our end users and creating healthy environments, and that's the why of what we do. And so we're still a critical link in that chain, in my view. And my hope is that, ISSA is still a fantastic resource. It used to be a better resource, I find, for distributors. And I'm very happy with this initiative because it should be the go-to resource for distribution. And so this initiative, hopefully, will gather some insight and will be able to better answer the needs of our, distribution in Canada. And I'm a firm believer that collaboration will just, like Tim said, maybe help us individually and as an industry grow the pie and make all of us more prosperous.
That's a wonderful goal. Chris, the same question for you.
Similar to what Manon said, to give back. We spend so much time entrenched in our day-to-day running of our business. We sometimes forget that we have other folks who are facing the same challenges in their day-to-day running of their businesses. And so if we can help out and give back to like our fellow distributors and help those continue to be competitive and bring value, I think it was important. I was also very honored to be asked, and so I feel like it's a privilege to be asked to be a part of this. The other thing is, I've thought many times about, we're a member of ISSA, and every year we send our membership, and often wondered, like, what value do we get from being a part of ISSA? And when we structured this council, I thought, this is a way that ISSA can bring value to its membership. We've got a collaborative group that are talking about, how can we help each other? And I think that is very, very key to what ISSA can bring to its membership. And selfishly, I've learned a lot from, hearing from folks like what's going on in Tim's world and what's going on in Manon's world. And so, I'm also getting value as somebody who runs a distribution entity in Atlantic Canada from folks that are in different parts of the country. So, not to be a little self-serving, but the reality is, I've enjoyed our time together on the council, and we do learn from each other. So, yeah, that's for me.
Well, we enjoy having you on our council, Chris. So thank you.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah. And then Tim, your thoughts.
Well, hopefully I don't repeat too much there, but I think, I think it's a common sentiment that, many of us in the distribution sector have sort of questioned, whether or not we're getting, maximum value, from the ISSA. And first of all, I think this is just it's a really positive, proactive step for ISSA Canada to, assemble the council, to try and understand, what's behind that and try and, produce something, positive for the entire industry. And then I think, selfishly, Swish has benefited from a strong industry. And I think everybody, whether we talk about growing the pie or rising tides floating all the boats, I mean, there's just, we've participated in, with ISSA Canada and its predecessor organizations, for a very long time. There's only upside, right, in my mind, to having a really strong industry. And so, I have I have an interest in remaining a strong independent distributor. I really want to see this industry thrive. And so, that's why I'm involved, and I hope that the Canadian industry will support the council in helping to work with ISSA Canada to develop some programs that really help us all.
Great, thank you. Yeah, we keep calling it an industry, but a lot of times, I've been involved with it. I'm afraid to say how many years, but it feels like a community too, right? And then go
Right.
to a networking event, be at a show, see the people seeing each other and getting together, and it really feels that way. So I appreciate all your responses. Chris, Tim, Manon, that they've all volunteered their time for this, for the council. We do have 5 other members, and it was important to us to have a cross section. We do have some of the big box distributors that are part of our council. They also feel it's very important to see a strong Canadian industry, and they're anxious to support and help. And we also have very strong regional representation from right across Canada. Every region does have someone on the council, at least one person. Generally, it's multiple. So, thank you to everyone on the call, and then those on our council who aren't here. We're really excited about the team we've assembled and what we're trying to do. And we really hope people have an opportunity to give us their input and insights through the survey, and that will help steer our future activities. So back to you, Tanya.
On that note, I thank you all, Tom, for moderating, Manon, Chris, and Tim for participating, and everyone else who took the time to join us today. I thank you, and I hope you all have a wonderful day.